Welcome to the latest episode of a live broadcast of Community Association Contract with David and Steve. Today we will have interesting topics that will bring value to our community of managers and community association assistant managers are following this show. We will be discussing contract reviews and governing documents. But before we jump into all that, I'll pass you the mic, Steve, so you can introduce our guest.
Outstanding. Thank you, David, for the introduction. My name is Steve Roderick with JGS Insurance. Today we have, you guessed it, a very, very special guest. All right. Today we have Mr. Matt Collins, and he's a partner over at the law firm of Horn Williamson. Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do over there?
Hey guys, really appreciate the opportunity to be on this show. You guys have been doing a great job, just really smashing it. But I'm an attorney, been practicing for 23 years, admitted in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and I handle all facets of community associations. I like to say, from the clubhouse to the courthouse and everything, and I mean everything in between. And sometimes I tell people from the multi-million construction litigation, kind of bet the association to, I can't believe I went to law school for this. I need to practice in the mirror before I make this argument. But we make those arguments that these are people's homes and every issue, large, small, are of the utmost importance to the homeowner.
Okay, so you guys specialize in community associations, but geographically, where are you guys at?
So we're located in Philadelphia. We practice in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I represent community associations as far west as Allegheny County. I go all the way up to the Poconos. The firm was founded by two construction attorneys. That's all I did for Horn Williamson. Anything you can imagine. And they've expanded to include land use, zoning, real estate, and my favorite, community association law. So it's very complementary, the different practice groups. Really enjoy working there.
Very cool. Now, as far as what you're doing, your specialty is to make managers' life easier, isn't it? So one of the things that I think could be an interesting topic is discussing contract review in the context of common interest communities. Can you tell us if it is possible from your perspective to understate the importance of reviewing your contracts?
Absolutely not. Look, contracts we couldn't be doing business as we know it without contracts. It would look like something out of a Mad Max movie if we did not have enforceable contracts in this country. And really, it's the fabric. It sounds dramatic, but it's true. It's a fabric, I think, that holds our society together. Look, the three of us could not be in our individual vehicles without contracts, whether we bought, leased, whatever. The Wi-Fi we're using, everything is regulated by contracts, and associations really need to focus really considerable effort on what I call contract management, and they should have a well-defined contract management system within their community. And it sounds scary, but it really isn't that hard to get a nice system of contract management in place at your community. Okay.
Well, can you tell us maybe what are some of the common pitfalls or mistakes that community associations might make with their contracts?
Well, there's quite a bit. There's a lot of job security out there for us attorneys, but I'll go over a few of the common ones. The one that drives me bananas, and I think this has to do with kind of our conditioning, is that the terms and conditions are not negotiable, that boilerplate. And what I think happens is that most of us in our daily lives, we don't negotiate those terms and conditions. And I'm thinking about when you get that update on your smartphone, there's all the terms of service. I've never picked up the phone and said, Apple, I want Tim Cook on the phone right now because I don't like section 2000 subsection Z. That needs to go out, right? That's never going to happen. Your only recourse is not to use a smartphone, essentially. And so that mentality, unfortunately, carries through to board members. And they think, can I really negotiate these? Yes, you can. Look, you are the 800-pound gorilla in that situation. Most situations, these are the ones in business with you. It's not like you and Apple, you and Amazon. To flex those muscles, negotiate those terms and conditions.
Very cool. And that's something that I think most people don't necessarily realize is that you are, like you said, you are the 800-pound gorilla for that particular contractors that you're dealing with, whether it's a snowplow, whether it's a landscaper. You may have a medium-sized or small association for that particular person at this particular time. You very well might be the 800-pound gorilla.
And another thing that's similar to that, another common pitfall I see is what I call sort of the courtship confusion. So especially if it's a new vendor. So it's kind of like a romance, right? The vendor is wooing the board, wooing the manager. I love you, you love me, hire me. And at that point, it feels awkward sometimes for some people to say, all right, well, these terms and conditions got to go. They don't want to ruin the vibe, if you will. And that's nonsense. If you're negotiating with a business person on the other end, they expect this negotiation, and they're going to probably think it's odd that you don't try to negotiate. And look, if you're still having a problem with it, if you're still feeling awkwardness, blame it on the lawyer. Blame it on the lawyer. You can even say, it's not you. It's not even me. It's that dumb lawyer of ours. He's making us negotiate these terms and conditions. I tell my clients, always blame the lawyer if you don't want to engage into that awkwardness. And I don't have to be involved directly. You can just use my name, like, oh, that Matt Collins, he just doesn't let us accept terms and conditions. We got to negotiate these. So right off the bat, just get over those two things and don't accept the terms and conditions.
So if that's kind of like the dating period, the contract is pretty much the prenup, and the following period is the honeymoon.
Yeah, and some people conflate that, and I'll even say this isn't a prenup. This isn't truly a romance. Like, the best time to negotiate the exit is when you are still in this sort of courtship phase, when things are still good, because you're not thinking, oh, things are going to go south.
Yeah,
that is the best time to negotiate the exit, not while the contract is in play, and certainly not when there's some questions or even some friction down the road. Do it up front. Make sure you know a way. I say a way out, but there's also a lot of other things you really want to look at. And then the last thing I'll talk about, you'll get an occasional board member who'll say, oh, who reads the boilerplate anyway? That doesn't really hold up in court. Yeah, it does. If the terms and conditions are legal and you had the capacity to enter into that contract, they are binding. So read them and negotiate them. Now, not all terms and conditions are bad, and most lawyers know which ones are rather standard, which ones aren't. And if you're doing this like I am for however long, 23 years, you understand where the push and pull is. You know how far you can go, and that's. I'll just leave it at that.
Sure.
Sure. Lining.
Thank you for permission to blame the lawyers, because we do it anyway.
Oh, please.
Usually the first phone call comes to us and they say, hey, can you look at this contract? Because a free phone call. And then we look at it and we say, yeah, it looks great, but you better call your lawyer.
That's right. So why don't you jump to the next question that we have see, I messed up. So whoever messes up more, Steve, on this one, we'll have to get a pedicure and show proof of it on one of our upcoming episodes. So I hope you lose this one.
Okay. Did you say pedicure?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
I know you hate that stuff.
Oh, I'll touch my feet. All right, enough about pedicures. So Matt, we get tons of phone calls about contracts, contract reviews, negotiations, and whatnot, as I mentioned. But here's another one that you guys, we work very, very closely with attorneys all the time, and the other phone call we get is usually governing docs, trying to understand. Contracts are generally, comparatively speaking, they're short. Governing docs are, oh my goodness. So, do you have any advice on the governing docs for the managers?
Sure. One other thing I want to add, though, in the contracts, a lot of associations don't involve their insurance brokers, and that's a mistake. So if you're having anyone come out on your property to do work, you should have insurance requirements for that vendor. That's when you involve the broker. I call the broker. I know what risk needs to be managed, but Steve and David, they will help me find out what products we should use and what we should put into that contract. So lean on the broker. Governing docs. So governing docs, they're not contracts, they're covenants. I'm not going to get into the weeds, but it's not like a buyer can come in and negotiate the terms and conditions of the governing documents. The way the analogy I like to use is, look, a community association is like a small community, small city.
Mm-hmm.
The master deed or the declaration, it's like the Constitution. The bylaws are like the laws and the statutes. Rules and regs are like the regulations that we use all the time. It's not easy in some occasions to amend those. Oftentimes you need a supermajority. But to keep your documents in shape, I suggest 2 items. Number one, just keep abreast of the law. Lean on your attorney. In Pennsylvania and New Jersey, you have easier ways to amend the documents if they're out of compliance with the law. This happens sometimes in the housing financial industry, or say fair housing. Another item is, look at your community. There might be sort of rules on the books that are no longer enforced just because the community changed. The big one there would be dogs. Everyone loves dogs now. And let's say you have a restriction in your community that says no dogs more than 30 pounds. And for whatever reason, you end up having a pack of St. Bernards on your property. And everyone loves them, right? But Cujo has a bad situation with Miss Smith in Unit 200. She gets injured. The first thing that personal injury attorney is going to do is look and say, oh, they had a duty to keep dogs over 30 pounds in the community. You have an obligation to enforce your governing documents. So again, if you have things on your governing docs that you no longer enforce, it's a good idea to try to get rid of those, because an unenforced duty is really a liability that's out there. And so the governing docs should evolve with your community.
And what can an association do to really keep their governing docs in good shape?
Well, just like I said there, like every now and again, you should review the docs and see, hey, do these documents necessarily line up with how our community operates? And again, lean on your attorney. Establish a relationship with an attorney who can provide you updates as the law is always changing, and to keep you abreast of items that may need to be reflected in your governing documents. And it's not a bad idea to for one or more board members and community managers to join a trade association that will be providing this information and make it more readily available to you.
Fabulous. That's really good advice. And you touched on the things that you don't enforce any longer. I get the question all the time. And yeah, it's a really, really good advice to make sure that those things, if you're not enforcing them, that you guys take care of that. Thank you for reinforcing that.
Sure.
Now, you get anything fun?
Well, you know what? This year, since we got a new year, new season, we decided to change it up a little bit. So community association card chat, we've switched over from rapid fire to a little bit of word association. So I have some legal, possibly specific words here. So I'm just going to shout out some words and you say what comes to mind. You ready?
You're going to see the darkness of my soul come through, I'm afraid.
Maybe. Pretty light. So the first one, how about water?
Infiltration.
Okay. Village.
Say again.
Village.
Torches and pitchforks.
Fire.
Sprinklers.
Oh, retain.
I like them. But that's retainer. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Okay. Fear.
First thing that
He has no fear. He has no fear.
Sorry, it was the first thing was loathing. I was thinking of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
That's word association. Minutes.
Say that again.
Minutes.
Short. Less is more, people. Keep your minutes short.
Harassment.
Defense.
Shiny.
Bright.
Term.
Conditions.
Verbal.
Attack.
I wasn't expecting that one. Mental.
Patient.
Oh, nice.
Sorry, my dad's a psychologist. My mother-in-law taught psychology, and my mother is a retired psych nurse.
Okay, makes sense
Wow.
now. Slip.
Operator.
Okay, last one. Argue.
Enjoy.
Nice. Nice. So we wanted to keep these short, but we want to give you 20 seconds to plug for whatever you want. Favorite charity, your favorite boss, favorite client, worst client, whatever you want.
Well, I'm going to give a shout out to all the managers out there. You guys have a very challenging job. You have to be jacks of all trades, Jacks and Janes of all trades. And it is a rough job. And I do applaud your efforts in dealing not only with the day-to-day, but with the various personalities. So really shout out to you managers out there. Thanks for all the work that you do.
Outstanding.
Thank you very much. Steve, do you want to take the closing arguments?
The closing arguments. Oh, yeah.
Closing arguments. All right.
All right, Matt. Well, thank you for being here with us. Everybody, thanks for watching. And we'll see you next week on Community Association Car Chat with David and Steve. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Good.